let's put on our thinking caps and let's say 10 years from now. I have two questions. Number one, will ESPN still be around in 10 years, primarily as a television channel? That's my first question. My second question, I'm gonna let you answer that one. I'm gonna let you answer that one. I'll come back to my second question.
Wow, that's
Primarily as a television channel,
it'll
not
be not go ahead, finish.
that, not as anything like even as it's yeah, relatively as it exists now.
It's going to be closer to not being that than it is now. I mean, I don't know if it'll be gone, but it may be a video delivery platform
That's
or
what I think.
as much as a TV show. I mean, sports centers in, those kind of things, that kind of appointment viewing stuff probably
Sports
isn't
Center.
there, right? And if you've already got shows, if you're doing shows with hot takes that last half an hour, right? Okay, those are videos that can show up anytime on Netflix and be there and whatever. So I don't, on ESPN Flix, I don't know, whatever it's going to be. But as a 24-hour a day program, I think there's more of a chance that ESPN as we know it becomes ESPN News, with here's a highlight,
Mhm.
here's some stuff. We kind of keep running stuff through, here's a ticker. And then the other stuff is kind of event based and available on many different platforms.
That's about where I'm at with it. I am very fascinated in this whole Pat McAfee thing because of him not wanting to give up YouTube and not wanting to give up it being free, his show being free. If Pat McAfee is very much the model for success in the sports media world right now, I think that's the thread that if I'm gonna put money on, that's the one that I'm gonna the kind of follow. Is the YouTube and the how can that type of content be monetized? Because I think that's where if where there's money to be made and probably outside of the traditional commercial during a mega cast or commercial during a college football game, that's where there's an untapped revenue stream. I really think that.
With him or with shows like him?
With with both. With him initially, I think he's gonna be the guinea pig for it. Or the we're gonna look back and if we're playing 10 years from now, in 20 years, we're gonna be like Pat McAfee kind of did it first. His show did it first.
And I, and
I
I,
think
I
in
still
20
think
years. Go ahead.
20 years from now, we'll be saying he did it first and best.
You
I
think
just
so?
think maybe I'm sure there's some other personalities out there that resonate, but people can tell what's genuine and what's a stick. His genuineness doesn't always resonate with me and is skews younger than me and is a little more sophomorish than what I would consume. But you just can't put anybody in that situation and it's going to survive or it's going to work. It's just not. Now I think he could be the model. They're going to say, hey, this is going to work. We're going to do this. And they'll try it with some other stuff and it won't work. I think we'll get more content and less community with all of our sports. I think we'll get more people doing things and less shared viewing, less experiences, less things that you can actually talk about because you won't all have seen the same thing. You'll have consumed it different ways.
This was kind of brought up in the Vizart study. Let me find the number here. It was a pretty high number prefer actually watching the game through their phones as opposed through traditional like going into a bar type viewing. Um, so I think that is yeah, I think that's something to pay attention to. Okay, my second question for you, Steve. Thinking about this one recently, just kind of on the state of the media.
Wait, I got to follow up.
Okay,
I think, did you watch UmpCam or the baseball game itself for the
the
Men's College
baseball
World
game.
Series?
The baseball game. I checked out on cam.
Okay. I
I,
mean, there
I
wasn't
did
much there.
check it
There
out.
wasn't any there, but I checked
Yeah,
it out. It was different-ish, but I mean, they were using the same broadcast. You just got the
yeah,
camera.
yeah.
So, okay.
Um, I don't think those types of streams. I still think there's value in the personality in terms of having the right people on the air. I think about like thinking about like a college football mega cast, right? Like what works for that is you've got like the coach's room where if you want to go listen to them talk about like specific X's and O's. Now, the problem with that is that doesn't appeal, but if you kind of do it where you do it more so Manning cast, where you get Tracy Morgan to show up or insert X celebrity here that is a John Hamm being a whatever fan, kind of showing up, then I think that is more relatable. And I think that's where we're going to see. I think sports are going to happen, and we have to change the way we have a conversation, or we narrate those sports, I guess would be the best way to say it.
I think that, yeah, I think that's gonna happen. I don't know that we're gonna have to change. It's gonna change.
Yeah, yeah,
Because people are just gonna consume it differently, and that
yeah.
their narration points are gonna be different. Everybody, instead of, it's kind of like the video game views for college football or college basketball. Instead of the high sideline camera being the thing they do, you're getting more of following the play along from behind it or whatever else, which is how it's seen in a video game. So that's how people consume it.
Yeah. All right. My next question. 10 years from now, I was thinking about this one. The article talks us about a lot of the layoffs going on in the sports media world, and kind of the athletic model, and how that kind of model is receding a little bit. And even like John Boy's model is kind of starting to recede a little bit. Essentially, here's my question. In 10 years, do you think the beat writer will be around? The you are specifically on a team beat writer, or do you think we're going to get more broad?
I think
I-
there'll still be some. I think the market will be smaller. I think
Okay.
there'll be fewer of those. I think you're going to get more broad. I think they're going to do different things. It's happening now with, game stories aren't, it's what you need to know, what happened, that kind of stuff. They break stories up, they're bullet points. Like there's going to be a couple different types of storytelling. There's going to be those brief things after a game or game content. This is what you need to know. And then those are going to be complemented by some longer form or personality profiles, probably more video than written. See, I don't think it'll be gone, but it'll be less than it is now even.
I think the game story is gonna be dead. I don't know if the beat writer will be dead, but I think the game story will certainly be dead.
So
I
we've
think
killed box scores, right? They're dying already.
Yeah,
I mean, in
they're
terms of who's consuming them, the
yeah.
game story is going to be this. So the day-to-day consumption, then, if those were some of the main ways that people consume stuff, maybe there'll be a little recap videos, I guess, right? Here's
After every Penn State game, I know some people go back and rewatch the entire game. I rewatch the 10-minute or 8-minute kind of package of highlights that is the game essentials, and that is the perfect way to reconsume the game for me. And I think we're going to get a lot more of that. I think we're going to get, and I think it's a bet. I think we have to, as we are both beat writers, of course, we have to kind of accept that the game story isn't that interesting, but what is interesting is the story about the guy that made the big shot or the big home run or scored the big touchdown, and kind of giving that backstory. And I think that's why for the writers that have succeeded at The Athletic or places like The Athletic, or really anybody that's trying to do anything right now in sports media, that's why those stories are resonating better, as opposed to the Penn State scored a touchdown and then they went back out onto the field and stopped them on defense and scored another touchdown. I think the game story is dead, and now it's the era of the sidebar becoming the main story.
So are you too young for, I forget when this died out, like the Penn State highlight show that was like an hour presentation of the game on Sunday. Like they did a highlight show after the game. It was before the Penn State football story. At the end, it was narrated by Guy Junker. Stan Savran did it for a while too. Other people did it through the years. And it was based on a model that the Green Bay Packers did years ago in the 60s and 70s. And they would show the highlights and then say, after they exchanged a punt from the teams, Penn State resumed with the ball on the whatever, right? And like they would cut it all down, and that's how they would do it. It was like
I
football.
remember this, yeah.
Football 60. And that was, like you said, talking about every little thing. That was how they covered it. After an exchange of punts, Penn State had the ball back on its 36-yard line. And it was just, that was how we knew to, that was, if you didn't get the game, if you didn't watch the game on TV, that's what you did. So yeah.
I think, like I said, I think I would much rather consume a game that way in terms of catching up. Like for the Lightning, if I miss a Lightning game, I go watch the 5-minute clip of 5 minutes of the game that they kind of post that shows all the goals and the key moments. Okay.